So here we are in the shambles that is the chapel stroke office stroke room. We put everything in because there's no other room to put everything in. I'll just give you the view of it. So there we've got stuff left over from, what was that? That's when I went to the school. I can't get the angle right. No, that way, that there. No, that way, that way. That picture, Chelmsford Wood. Went to the school and did a story of urban and rural. The kids were very excited. They said, well, I live there. Then I told the story of the farm and the boggart. Baptistry from the filling and the emptying. That was left over from the meal on Sunday. Music. Advent candles, can't leave them lying around or they'll get played with, won't they? A mountain of mince pies ready for the candlelight service on Sunday. A mountain of candles. Thanks everyone that's given us them. The general chaos that is the table on which I work. There's a great song by the Lemonheads called Hard Drive, who just lists, in the song he just lists everything he's doing and what everything is. And it's all very mundane and banal. And, this is the sermon. He doesn't say this. This is the talk I'm working on. These are the candles I'm lighting. It's a lovely song. Hard Drive by, I think it's the Lemonheads, or it's the guy from the Lemonheads. Evan Dando. Very good. Why am I showing this? Because normally on Friday Film, we have someone interesting come in, don't we? Someone interesting, and I talk to them, and they make me look like I'm interesting because they're talking to me about interesting things. Well, it's been a bit more chaotic than usual the last couple of weeks. My life's shifted somewhat, as some of you know. And Christmas, every year, I've been doing Christmas, well, since I was born, to be honest. But every year I think I get organised, and then at Christmas I can just enjoy the season. In fact, this year I'd written down, get everything done in November, all your talks and everything. And then in December, just drift about and talk to people and enjoy. Well, that didn't work, did it? So I'm doing a film now, and I apologise if I repeat myself or ramble, because I haven't really prepared anything. I thought, well, let's just sit here and see what happens. And it's very fitting. I did think about something to talk about. And you know what? I can't remember what it was. So it's not really the Friday film, more the Friday ramble. The Friday framble. I was going to do a bit of a review over the last year, because we've had some great stuff happening over the last year. We've got back into the rhythm, haven't we? Because after the lockdown debacle that affected everyone in the world, we've taken our time, and I think we've walked back to a good place to start as a church. We've got our worship going. We've got a good rhythm of worship. We've got some people helping lead worship, the talking and the praying and the music and the sorting out, the setting up. It's kind of feels like it's kind of come together a bit more this year. And that's been good. And I know you're not meant to enjoy it. Well, you're not meant to enjoy it, but it's not an entertainment. And I found worship helpful and fun and challenging and a good place to be over the last year. And partly that's down to the fellowship that we worship in, I think, because we know each other. And that may make it hard for people coming in. We always have to be aware of others coming in. We may be a circle, but there has to be a break, several breaks in it. So when people come in, they can join and become part of it. I'm a big fan of hedges as boundaries because you can slip through them. They're not quite as defined, are they? Hedges kind of grow where they want. Whereas you put a wall up, that's it. The church should be surrounded by a hedge. That's what's going on in there. But anyone can come in. You can just nip through that hole in the hedge there. You'll be fine. So worship has been a good thing for us. And we've got some of our routines going. Things like All Hallows, we didn't quite get that back this year, did we? Harvest. Well, I've never been very good at harvest. But I think we've grown as a community, as a family. And that's been a great joy. And that, for me, is what it's about. If we get the family right, everything else, well, I can live with that. So we have to watch that. There's bits we didn't get quite right, I think, over the year. But let's keep working on that, loving one another, learning to tolerate one another. Bit of work to be done there still, I'm sure. It's been good. And Three Trees, the community centre, has also thrived this year, and that's been a real positive as well for us. So it's been good. It's been good. And I know that I have felt the love this year. I have. So where do we go then? What do we do in the midst of all this? What's the point? What's the message to be had? Well, I think it's good that this place goes. I mean, it drives me up the wall, this room. But this is the eye of the spiritual storm, if you like, here. Because everything else, people come and go. Different groups come in, and things get moved around or broken or replaced or whatever. This is a constant. I mean, it flip-flops between a room that's clear and a room that's like this. But that's because the church is alive. The church is doing stuff, and there's a pile of stuff ready, usually by this point in the week or tomorrow. That's the Sunday stuff ready to go. Because we're moving on. We've got the next thing. We're good to go. And that's a sign of a living church. We're not a museum piece. We're not there to look at, oh, isn't that nice? We're alive. Which makes some events more painful. Like yesterday we said goodbye to Jean, didn't we? And that was a sad day. But it felt right and it felt warm, didn't it? Those of us that were able to be there. She was a good and faithful servant, wasn't she? And I talked about the differences between Jean and me. Jean was very old school, very conservative. Probably her theology and her biblical interpretation stuck somewhere in the 19th century or possibly earlier. I don't know. Well, she knows now, doesn't she? And I'll find out when I get there. But between us, we found a common ground in the person of Jesus. Between us, we realised actually it doesn't really matter. If you love Jesus and you love your neighbours, you love yourself, everything else, it's just rock and roll. And one of her relations, I think it was, stood up and said about Jean, and this is one of the things that made her unusual, and they said she wasn't judgmental. She was warm and she was loving, and she never judged anyone. She may have disagreed with you or thought you were wrong, but she never judged you for it. And that was a gift that she had. So back to the room then, I guess. What do we do? You know what we do with this room? This room does have a Christmas message, not just the holly on the candles. I couldn't be bothered to put them all on, by the way. They're really fiddly, the little ones. So I just did a few for atmosphere. Because this room incarnates the church at the heart of the life here at Three Trees. Because our vision always has been, and I pray always will be, to be the beating spiritual heart of this place, of this building, of the life that goes on here, and also of this community, along with the other churches that are around, that we provide a spiritual life, a spirituality, a way to explore faith and seek God and go deeper into this mystery of life. And if you're incarnating that, it is messy. There's going to be piles of stuff around. There's going to be things that aren't finished, things that you're planning to do, lists, things that got broken and you haven't got around to fixing them yet. Because that's what life is actually like, isn't it? I keep reviewing my life because I'm getting on a bit now. I keep thinking I must sort that out, you know. And every summer it's like I must sort out the garden and fix that broken bit and chop those logs and all that kind of stuff. And some of it I get done and some of it I don't. Life is full of unfinished stories, isn't it? I don't think anyone finishes their story. Jean would have left a few threads behind, I'm sure, that weren't quite finished. And I suppose the trick, the wisdom that comes with age that I haven't got yet, is not to sweat it. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't worry about all the unfinished threads. There is something in the funeral that talks about that. Let me see if I can find. I've got my notes here. Wait a minute. It says, let me find it. These are lovely words that I use a lot at funerals, and it's not because I said this yesterday. It's not because I can't think of anything new. It's just because they're good. It says, let Christ speak for you unspoken words. Unfinished conversation will be resolved in him. Be not disturbed. What a fantastic perspective. What a fantastic turn of phrase. Unfinished conversation will be resolved in him. And that's not just about death, I think. That's through life. Let Jesus, let Christ resolve some of those stuff. Let it rest in him. And so this room, chaotic as it is at times, it's a sign that we as a church have an ongoing story. We have threads, piles of paper, lists of things to do, piles of things that we need to fix or put away or tidy up or file. Things we don't quite know where they fit. Isn't that exactly what church life is? Isn't that exactly what our life is? And isn't that exactly, I guess, what Christmas is about? Christ, God, incarnate, coming down into our incompleteness, our shambolic lives. However much you pretend you've got it together, I don't believe you. You may have it more together than me. That's quite possible. But none of us have got it all together. And that's why Christ came, to resolve those conversations. And whilst we can't resolve them all now, he sets us on the path to resolution. He says, begin thinking about this. Begin this conversation with God now. Begin working on that part of who you are and what you're about. Jesus came to our chaotic, shambolic, unfinished world to gather it in and to say to people, come on, we can get through this. We can live a different way, a way of hope and of peace and of joy. And that isn't always neat and tidy, is it? So there you go. That's my reflections for today. I'll stop chatting now. It's not so interesting with just me. We've only got one more session to go before Christmas, which is going to be next Wednesday. That'll be a prayer time. We do an online prayer time. And I'm not around much on the Monday or the Friday. So there'll just be one more session before we finish off for Christmas. So I do pray God's peace into your life and God's peace into our world at this time. And perhaps for all of us to look to the stable and see Jesus in the unfinished mess of that setting and say, well, it doesn't matter, does it? If that nail's sticking out and that bit of the stable needs fixing and that stuff's all part, it doesn't matter, because do you know why it doesn't matter? Because God's here. And once you know God's here, it's going to be okay. We'll be all right. So God bless. Have a great rest of the day. Join us on Sunday if you can. It'd be nice to see you. We're meeting at 11, and also this week, because it's that time of year, we got carols on Sunday night at 6 o'clock. Come along. Have a good day. God bless you. See you soon now. Bye-bye.